I could have put some like light eyeliner on or something. Well, hello. This is Carissa Marie with CarissaMarie.com and Be Free. And I am so excited to have Miss Audrey Renee back here with us today. So we've
Yay!
had her on before, but we are delighted that she's our special guest for today. And for those of you who are getting in late and we're going to watch this again, please pay attention. This is good stuff. And also, before we even get started, I want to go ahead and put her link in here where you can, while we're even talking, check out her website. You can go where to find her book. And we're going to get into that too in a minute. So, welcome. So, Miss Audrey, hello.
Yes. Hi, how are you? So excited and honored to be on your beautiful platform where you get to just allow women to share their stories. And so I'm excited.
Well, I'm just so glad that we were able to do this. And you know, what's so funny is when I knew I needed to have you on the platform is when I've gone to a breakfast that you and Miss
Mhm.
Karen asked me to go to, and I'm like, my goodness, I need to hurry up and get Miss Audrey on here.
Thank
I
you.
was so inspired, really. That's the
Thank
best
you.
way to put it, by your story. So, Miss Audrey Renee, for those who weren't here and don't know your story, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I am Audrey Renee, as she says. I am a entrepreneur. I actually work for a nonprofit organization called Natasha House, which I actually was a resident of and
Mhm.
graduated there. And I celebrated 5 years, which we talked about in the last interview with Miss Brown. And I am a mom of one 8 year old little girl who is amazing, who has changed my life in ways that I can't describe. And yeah, that's just a little bit of background about me. I have a website. It started off as Dear Single Mommy. And what I did was I wanted to share my journey and my story to other women because I felt it to be a relief for me to help someone else if they were feeling the same way. So a lot of my on my website, you'll see a lot of blogs basically transforming from the Dear Single Mommy journey to getting to know me as a woman journey and how that all works together. And just seeing, how I have progressed over time in that journey. And so, yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Mhm.
But yeah, did you want me to share my background from the single mom transitional home?
Absolutely, because
Yeah,
I think, and the reason why, Audrey, honestly, is because there are so many people walking around here
yeah,
thinking they're in it by themselves
yeah,
and are feeling like hopeless and helpless and don't realize that we all been there. A lot of us have been in those situations and didn't know how to get out of those situations. So I think
yeah,
I would love to hear, and for the audience who doesn't know,
yeah,
how this all came to be.
yeah. So, Um, I, as anyone, I was at work. I met a guy and I was interested in him and he was interested in me. And long story short, I was engaged to this man and I moved to California at the time with him. Packed all my stuff up, moved to California, and we were supposed to eventually get married. Things just didn't work out, and I actually moved to Texas. And I basically, so just a little background before I tell that piece. I went to a church called Freedom Life here, and they were actually starting a campus in Texas, and I was aware of it, but I didn't know when. So it was at the time when they started their campus, I actually connected with people in Texas when I decided to go there, found out I was pregnant, and they became my community.
Mm.
So the starters, the people who basically started the church, I had known them back in my hometown, and it was just they connected me to everybody in the church, and so they became my community as I got pregnant. I had got a job, and I just kind of stayed in Texas for about a year. I had my daughter Amara, and things just went downhill. I knew how to get up and work, but I didn't know what came with being pregnant and having a baby and what to do with it and all the expenses that it came with. I didn't know.
Mhm.
Um, and so when it happened, it really shifted. my life. It really changed my life, and I experienced things that I never thought I would have experienced. So I ended up moving back home to my hometown is Virginia. I ended up moving back home with my parents, and that just didn't work out because there was not a lot of help there in that area of trying to get out back on my own. And then
Mhm.
I moved in with another relative. I had a short period of time to live there, and I had to leave by a certain time. And along while this is happening, I'm battling with depression. I'm battling with, if I am a good mother, I'm sleeping on someone's couch. I'm trying to make ends meet. I'm trying to find a job because my
Mhm.
strongest skill was in administration, and I was getting a little bit here and there, but it just wasn't helping. And I remember, because I had until the June 1st to move out of a relative's place from sleeping on the couch. I remember packing up all of my bags, and I remember God telling me, take with you what you need. And so I threw out the things that I didn't need, and I remember packing up my daughter's bag and my bag because my plan was to sleep in the car. Um, and that night, well, actually that day, or a couple of days, I applied to the Natasha House, which is here in Virginia on the Peninsula side. And I met with two people, did an interview. And the one question that stood out was, why should we have you be a part of our program here? And I said to them, I just need a second chance. I really just need this second chance to help me get on my feet. Like, I know I have the ability to do so. And so immediately that night, bags packed already in the car because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to stay in my car tonight. They told me that I could move in, and that night, me and my daughter slept in a bed in a room at Natasha House, and I went through the program for a year. I learned so much about myself. I remember writing down on the piece of paper because we have to do goals and things of that nature. And it said, "What's the scariest thing that you feel is going to be, your journey here?" And I was like, seeing myself in the mirror,
Mm. Mhm.
because I knew that that would be a part of the process. I
Mm.
knew that the more I saw myself in the mirror, the more I could go through the journey and go through the program correctly, because I had to learn about myself in the financial area. I had to learn about myself in my confidence. I had to learn about myself in parenting. I had to learn so much about myself and the things that I didn't know and the things I wanted to know, right? Because I was stuck
Yeah.
and I didn't have any knowledge on being a mom. And so I stayed there for a year, graduated, moved into my own place, and me and my daughter have been in this space for the past, I think I'm going on 4 years now, and I've grown so much from that experience that God gave me an opportunity to go back to Natasha House, not as a resident, but now as a administrative development coordinator, where I get to be on the other side, the side that I didn't know anything about.
Mhm.
The administration side, and getting to meet the donors and getting to meet all the people who made Natasha House possible. Getting to hear, I would call her Mrs. Brown, but Dr. Brown, Dr. Karen Brown's story of what connected her, because I had heard it before, but not from the position of where I was, and being able to share my story to those who have a heart for Natasha House, and being able to, show them the results of a graduate and what they're truly donating to, and being able to share my daughter. So that journey was beautiful, because it just came back full circle. And Natasha House, when I needed it again, it was there for me. And I get to now be a part of the vision and expand it, as I've shared with Miss Brown. I'm hoping that I can be a part of the expansion of Natasha House so more people can know about it, but it can also be other Natasha houses as God sees fit,
Mhm.
go to different places, and take on the program that really did help me get back on my feet and get me to where I am now.
The thing too about Natasha House, and especially after our last conversation, is that it is a mirror. And we talked briefly about how, and we all running up against ourselves.
Yes,
We run up against ourselves, especially when we think, and I'm just going to put it out there, like, how could this happen to
to
me?
me, yes.
Like, like, how can this happen to me? And it's like and you're forced. You're forced to put yourself in a humble place in order to receive like the
Yes,
help and to even hear the help that you need. And the thing is, it can happen to like anybody. You could
yes,
have gone to college and you could have, think your life plan, but there are certain faults that we all have that we're not hip on until it's thrown on our face. Like perhaps we're not the most money savvy. We just knew how to make it. We knew like how
Yes.
to make that money,
Yes.
and we knew how to spend the money, but we
Mm-hmm.
weren't maybe money savvy. And but there's so many things that Natasha House offers to strengthen the woman's core. Really,
Yes.
honestly. So little
Yes.
things that really help you be independent. That's
Yes.
strengthening the woman's core, and that's what I love so much
Yeah.
about Natasha House, and that
Yeah.
you are like a walking testimony to how it's done.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
like if you go through the program, like how it's done and how it's beneficial.
Yeah.
So Audrey, so besides just my little thing, how do you all get the word out there about Natasha House?
So, we really heavily stay within the community. And something that, Dr. Brown is teaching me is connecting to the community around us, because
Mhm.
when we finish with the program, we are going right back out into that community. And
Right.
so sharing my story, we're heavily on social media trying to continue to show people what the myths and the truths of Natasha House is about. We
Mhm.
are connecting more intimately, which is something I've been learning. A lot of people, they want to connect with social media, but one thing that I found that is really significant about Natasha House is we like to connect to everybody's story intimately. I
Mhm.
think the more we have people come by and they come and they want to donate, but they also get to hear about Natasha House, it's a way for them to connect. And then they're telling their people in this word of mouth. And I think that a lot of Natasha House's strength has come from the community, the
Yeah.
community involvement, and because of the community and the word of mouth and how we talk to them and how we make them feel a part of this vision. They're telling other people about us, and that's how it's getting around. So it's really truly a blessing from God, because a lot of people need the social media, or you need commercials, and we have those things, and those things are definitely key too. But I think our connection with the community,
Mhm.
we connect with small businesses to help us print things that we need for Natasha House. We just connect truly with the community, and that's
Mhm.
really how we get the word out there, and it's been successful. It really
Yeah,
has been.
I'm one of them people. Y'all can't get rid of me. At least, in fact, I just do drive ups and I just pop in there.
We love you.
Seriously. But and so I fell in I get what you're saying, because then you fall in love with what it is all about. And you can't
Yeah.
wait to talk to us, whoever, about Natasha House. That happened to
Yeah.
me not long ago. For work, I was working, but I
Hmm.
had to go to a chamber event, and someone had seen Dr. Brown on my live, and not related to Natasha House. She was at a bank and was like, "I love Natasha House." I'm like, "I know, right?" But then what happens? Like it catches fire. So then
Yeah.
she's now probably talking about it to somebody
Hmm.
else. It's just
Yes.
that's how it works.
Yes.
So Audrey, even more importantly than all of that, you the woman, Miss Audrey
Yes.
Renee, what has happened at Natasha House is that it has sharpened your entrepreneurial skills set.
Yes. Yes.
So let's talk about your businesses.
So um so I have a business called Curse Broken. It's actually a shirt I have on now. I don't know if people can see it, but
Okay.
it's called Curse Broken. And what's funny is the Natasha House represented making us as women whole and making our kids whole,
Mhm.
and redefining that single motherhood piece. That this brand is for families. It's for the generational conversations at the table, and how we can break those cycles that we find ourselves in with not
Mhm.
knowing the financial literacy, knowing how to make the money and showing up to a job, but not knowing how to utilize the money so that it benefits us and it keeps us. And so
Mhm.
Curse Broken came from a place where I wanted to change the mindset of a single mom as I was changing my mindset. And then me and my daughter, we it just came to me. God gave me a vision for it. He gave me a scripture for it, which was Galatians 3:13, that God took everything on the cross. And so I found that to be a powerful thing. And I was like, well, since he took it on a cross, that means that the curse is already broken. And the moment that we walk in that power and authority and that truth, and we do our part, we're walking in what he did on the cross. And so me and my daughter, we started off doing some shirts. She was an entrepreneur. She sold slime. She learned about money at Natasha House because they had a chance program that taught them about money and how to buy things. And so she became a little entrepreneur
Well,
herself.
hold on. We got to
And
tell the people how old your child is so they can
yeah,
grab the picture.
at the time she was 5 when she started her slime business. Now she's 8. So
Wow.
and she's still always trying to figure out how to make, she gets money, and so she's trying to figure out how can I make some more. Now she's into bracelets and all of that. So but yeah, that it's I did that, and what that was doing was it was showing her a little bit of what mommy would have to do so she could understand about my entrepreneurship. And so we sold t-shirts, we sold out of sweatshirts, and now we're bringing something new back in 2023 to kind of just reintroduce it, to reintroduce the brand. So that's one of my entrepreneur goals. And then the other one is I write books. This is actually my second book that I've written. The first one was a poetry book. That was a kind of a picture poetry book that I sold. And I actually did that while I was sleeping on the couch at a relative's house.
Wow.
I published that book. And then this one I did because recently my father passed away in July. And so I find writing for me to be healing. And I find it to bring people along a journey that they may not have the words for.
Yeah.
And so because I have a heart to write and I have a heart to speak, I was able to formulate the language while going through my process of grieving the loss of my father. And I began to write these posts on Facebook and just kind of share where I was or share some thoughts to those who were grieving. And somebody just said, you should put this in a book. And so what was posted on Facebook, I turned into a book. And what's so unique about the book is I'm sharing my heart about the loss of my father and walking people through the many things that I've learned on that journey in such a short time, because that was something that helped me. And on the other side of it, there's a journal. So you get to read my story, but you get to write yours too. And so I wanted to make that a special thing for people. And some people brought it for friends who lost loved ones. And it really meant a lot to me because I also got to acknowledge my father in that book and, be thankful that out of something, of him passing away, I was able to produce something so beautiful, which was Embracing Grief, which is my book.
So, Audrey, I'm looking at your book and I want people to see it, but you're blocking the book. We want to see it. I'm glad you can reach it. Everybody,
Yes.
look at how beautiful this cover is.
Yes. My best friend took this picture and we actually took it almost 2-3 years ago. So this cover just struck us when I said, hey, I'm writing a book about grief. And she chose the perfect picture to really bring the book to life. And so we didn't have to do a lot of work. I didn't have to do a photo shoot. We already had the picture. And then, like I said, I've started writing in it a little bit, but there's a journal on the other side. So I've started writing in my journal. I wrote a letter to my dad and, just writing as I embrace grief with therapy, with community, and now being able to share those resources with other people as they're embracing the loss of loved ones. And so, yeah.
Audrey, that book is gorgeous. And dare I say, you kind of look like Michelle Obama in that book on that cover.
Well, thank you.
So nothing to do. I know I'm not the only one that thinks that. Look at everybody. I'm telling you, now you're going to go back and stare at this cover and ponder
Michelle
this.
Obama is somebody to be,
Yeah, she's gorgeous. But yeah, I just now I just realized that that's who it is, because when I looked at the cover, I'm like, this reminds me. Yeah, the essence of it is just gorgeous.
Yes, thank you.
So Audrey, so I just have to say, like, because and you know what the funny thing is, I use some of what I've learned from you and from what you've talked about, honestly, with my husband. And it's not much because when I drop into Natasha's house, I'm just getting niblets of things, you know, like bits and
Yeah.
pieces. But I'm a sponge. I'm that kind of girl. Like I take it and I'll let it. I absorb the information. But one of the things that I'm so impressed with and that I really want to pass on to my kids is being money minded in a way that is responsible. And how I think I remember you talking about at the breakfast how at one point saved $10,000
Yeah.
while you are a resident at Natasha House, which for like regular people on the everyday don't have the skill set or the mindset really to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So what happened was I learned financial literacy at Natasha House when I remember Miss Brown giving us a speech about how, politics were going to change, presidency was going to change, and how we really needed to change our mindset and put money aside because, she just always kind of had a heart to discern things that were coming in the future. And so she
Mm.
would share that with us.
Mhm.
And I took that to heart with me, like that, it never left me.
Mhm.
And so when I was working my full time job, I had moved out of Natasha house. I was living out on my own at that time, and I started to whatever checks came my way, like if you like when we got a refund check or any type of money that came my way, I never touched it. I tithe off of it, but I would always put it in my savings account so that I would never have to touch it because I had money coming in already, and I just lived
Mhm.
off of what I had. Um, and so over time, I was able to then save, $10,000. And it was right around the time when the pandemic happened.
Mm.
So I definitely counted on the grace of God and having wisdom. And so I immediately thought to myself, okay, the pandemic's happening. I was trying to leave my job, and it was a perfect timing to do so because my daughter had to be here for virtual schooling, and nobody
Mhm.
was out. Again, another thing about being on that single mom's journey is it was just me, and I had
Mhm.
to figure out how to maneuver that. And so I'm a mom, and I have to figure out how can I stay home with my daughter who can't go to school right now and work a job.
Yeah.
So I remember asking my job for a raise, and they never gave it to me. So around this time, I'm saving up my money, and I was able to. I didn't get a raise. I was denied for it, and
Mm.
I remember God putting on my heart that I could leave my job now, and I went full time into doing Curse Broken. I had my money put aside. I was able to stay home with my child and help out with virtual schooling until she shifted back in school. And just everything, just God was with me the whole entire way. Like, people say $10,000 is a lot of money. Once you invest in yourself and once you take care of your household, it runs itself out. so by the time I was getting everything I needed for a business and making sure that my household's taken care of and then running the business so that the money could come back in, it was a shift, and I had to trust God in the middle of it because when the money ran out, I had to remember that God was my source. And that was just a tool that I had to go ahead and shift into something new. And again, it led me all the way to being an entrepreneur full time. And then it even led me to being a part of a nonprofit organization and learning even more skills about entrepreneurship and learning how to impact the community through what Natasha House does. And so, Natasha House is like I call it, and I told Miss Brown the other day, Natasha House is like a reservoir, and anybody connected to it, it's like you get it streams, just
Mhm.
streams that
Yeah.
come from it because it's such a beautiful thing. So I'm learning still, even though I'm working on the other side, I'm learning so much about entrepreneurship, about Miss Brown's job and all that she does. Yeah, I'm just learning so much. So yes, I do think that Natasha House taught me financial literacy. They taught me entrepreneurship because before I was packaging T-shirts, I was packaging items out of Natasha House Garden to give to our sponsors and our donors who were paying for vegetables and fruit. Um, we were doing accounting things because we had to keep track of our money and savings, and so I was able to report I find an accountant to do my business when I had to, pay for taxes. And so all
Mhm.
of those things were foundational and things that I needed to even start a business, things that I didn't know I needed. And I did it. I won't say I did it perfectly, but I was surprised and shocked that all of that wealth of gems that I got in Tasha House came back to me when I started my business. It was like, oh, my accountant needs this. Okay, I knew how to do receipts because I had to do it on Tasha House. So I could
Mhm.
give her all my receipts and tell her what I kept track of and show her my Excel spreadsheet because I did that at Natasha House. I could package shirts and give them to people and know how to ship because I had did it at Natasha House. And so I just felt really good about that because that is exactly where it came from. That was the foundation of it. So yes, entrepreneurship, saving $10,000. Because I saved 1,000 at Natasha House and 1,000 turned into 10,000. So just knowing how to discipline myself when it came to money, it was rewarding and it felt really good. And there are times I have to remind myself of the things that I was able to accomplish after walking out of that program and how the fruit of it and the seeds that were sown really came forth. And so that's pretty exciting to always share that story.
Audrey, listen, because what's so wonderful about all of this is I'm getting excited again. It doesn't take much. I probably need a social life, but it doesn't take much. But because people are watching how you came out of this and now you're your own woman. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm saying? It's just like obtainable because in the moment people are afraid and scared and
Yeah.
like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they're watching you, even in the house that you are in, and you're on the other side. Those ladies that I got to meet, and that was an
Yeah.
awesome experience. They get to see for themselves how wonderful the fruits of their labor can
Yeah.
be. You know, and I'll tell you something too. You mentioned how you were picking up all these skill sets that you didn't know what that's God giving you tools. He already knew what
Yeah.
was in store for you. He had the
Mhm.
plan, he had it laid out. He's like, let me make sure to school my baby on
Mhm.
this. So
Yep.
she's ready for this. That's what that was. That was
Mhm.
a gift from God to prepare you for what you are supposed to be walking in. And you
Yeah.
are walking so gracefully in it,
Thank
Audrey.
you. Thank
So,
you.
and I do this all the time because what this is about is empowering people, enlightening people, but
Mhm.
more importantly, I always have women that are pouring so much out into the world that it is so important that I hear too for myself and for themselves what they do to take care of themselves.
Yep.
How do you love yourself? Like how do you pour into yourself? What do you do? What do you do for self care?
So I love to dance. Now I'm not talking about go find a class. I've done that too, but I think that just opened me up. I love to dance. I love to put my earpods on and just have a dance party. I don't know what it is. It's adrenaline rush for me. I just love it. I just love to dance. And another thing I love to do is write. I
Mhm.
like to find like this little corner over here that I really wanted to sit at for this interview. Is where I write at. It's where I sit at. It's
Okay.
where I look out my window. It's just my little corner, and I sit here. And it's funny because at Natasha House, I sat in a rocking chair over there. I used to look out that window in the living room area when my daughter would be sleeping. I wake up early in the morning, and this time I do the same thing in my house. So I found that to be something that really soothes me. Another thing is as a mom, try to get away and
Mhm.
plan things without my daughter. It's important for me to do it because I love my daughter and she loves me. But sometimes it's really nice to have some time to myself, whether
Mhm.
that's with my girls or definitely by myself. What else do I do? I try to take little trips and just have fun and be a kid again.
Yeah.
I think the last time I did that, and I'll just share this really quickly. I went to Water Country, what's around here, and it was the park was nobody was in the park. It was probably around summertime, and nobody was in the park as much, and it was me and my best friend, and we just had a complete blast. No
Nice.
kids, just hopped on every ride and just had a blast, and so much laughter and so much, and it was just so much healing that came with that for me because it was around the time I had lost my father too. just to have fun and just to enjoy the moment, because I think after the passing of my father, I asked myself the question, am I living or am I living? Am I after death? I think the main question I ask myself is, am I just existing or am I living?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm choosing to live every day, and knowing that my dad finished his purpose, his job, no matter how, if I thought he could have maybe did more or whatever, he finished it the way God intended. So now it's my turn to make sure I'm fulfilling my purpose, and so I choose to live.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's what I do for some self care and a book. I love books. I don't know what it is. I have a love hate relationship with books, but they really do help. They help with my mental self care. A lot of people don't think about what we're doing mentally outside of, the stuff that people normally talk about with self care. But books are really good, because it's been helping me with my recovery with grief.
Mm-hmm.
Writing a book, I read my own books because sometimes I have to go back and read them. So those are some things that I do.
I love it. Audrey, you made me think of something that it was maybe about a year or two ago that my girlfriends are all over I have maybe five like ride or dies, you know what I'm saying? But none of us live in the same city. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
my hometown is Michigan, but so I've got one girl and friend in Michigan and one in DC, which is not too far from us, but
Hmm.
nonetheless.
Yes.
So we had all come together, and the three of us had come together for a Juneteenth celebration, which we won't talk about what went down there, but it was a lot of fun. But we had a good time, right? But something
Yes.
that was beautiful and it made my heart just like smile. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's corny. I'm corny, Audrey.
No,
Is that
no.
it made my heart smile.
Yeah.
We simply were all in a Shocky's bed like 5-year-olds watching a movie, girl. We were all up in there in her big
Hmm.
old bed watching a movie, and I thought this is crazy, but it's not. It was
No.
so wonderful.
Yes. Yes.
You can't
Yes.
do that with everybody, but that was
No.
we were chilling. I'm like, man, this is
Yeah.
every now and then it's good to just kind of connect with the people that
Yes.
get you. You don't have to explain
Yes.
yourself to. So I get it.
Yes, community. That is a beautiful thing. And I've definitely found my community. And it is a beautiful thing to go to dinner and laugh, crying and stomach hurting because you're just
Yeah,
laughing, you're just enjoying the moment. And it's just beautiful. You don't want to leave it. So yeah.
yeah. So I just want to tell you, I am so glad that I got you on here. And it seemed like a long wait because I've been anticipating you being on here because I knew it was going to be good. And I know people are going to get something good from this. And so I'm just so grateful that you were able, because I know it's the holiday season right now, that you were able to take the time to come on here. So I
Yeah.
just thank you.
No
And
problem.
I
Thank
can't wait
you.
to do it again. You guys keep me, you know how to find me, but or I'll find you. Just
Hmm.
keep me in the loop of
Yeah.
whatever's going on. If you all ever need to hop on here, I'm the girl. But
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that you are in our community and that you are, letting your light shine. And I wish that there was a Karen House in all the cities in the land. I think,
Yeah.
man, nobody knows how good it is.
Yeah, yeah, and it will be. I believe in
Yeah,
that.
we
Even
gotta
if
believe in
we
that.
package it up and give it to someone that we can take the blueprint and pass that along because God's vision deserves to be expanded. So if that's what He wants, we will
Yeah,
make that happen. Hmm.
absolutely.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. And we are going to, Audrey, you stay put, but we are going
Okay.
to say good night to the ladies and gentlemen who have popped on in here and the ladies and gentlemen who will pop on later. Because I know my audience, they probably out there trying to get their last minute shop on.
Yes.
So they're doing last minute stuff. But we can't wait until the next time. So everybody have a good night and we are signing off.
Good night.